Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing a baby update and kind of a health update with you. So if you enjoy this type of content, please remember to subscribe and let's get into this video. Okay, so I've been wanting to film this video for a while, or at least I've been thinking about it, to give you a little bit of a baby update first of all, and I'll bring him in a little bit later. His sister is feeding him right now. So when he's done eating, I'll go grab him. But the reason I have not is because he's been a really hard baby. And so I just felt like I didn't really have a whole lot of good things to say. So it was just really hard for me to sit down and film this video. But in the last month to 6 weeks, we've made a lot of progress and things are going much better now. But let me just kind of start, I guess, at the beginning, and then I'll bring him in towards the end and show you guys what he looks like now, because he has gotten huge. But so he was almost borderline colicky. I wouldn't say he was colicky because it wasn't like he was hitting it's like the threes, you know, like for 3 hours, for 3 days in a row, for 3 weeks or whatever. I haven't ever had a colicky baby, at least that meets those kind of criteria. So he didn't necessarily meet those criteria, but he just was never very content. He was always just kind of a restless nurser, which was hard. Like, I nursed him up until just about a few weeks ago, so 6 months, which is pretty normal for me. I start to lose my milk around 6 to 8 months, and so we stuck it out and we were nursing, but he was just struggling. And normally with my other kids, I could sit and do other things. Like if I put pillows or whatever, had like the boppy around me, I would work on my computer, I could read easily, but he was just so restless. It was just hard to feed him, whether it was nursing or whether I was trying with a bottle. It was just always difficult and frustrating. And so it was like, okay, even when I'm feeding you, I have to be paying constant attention, because who knows how this is all gonna go down. So that was super frustrating and hard as well. You know, we hit some moments where it would go better and then he'd get restless again. And then when we went in for like his 2-month appointment, he hadn't gained very much weight at all. He was 8.5 pounds when he was born, you know, which is bigger than normal. All my babies are fairly big when they're born. But then he was only maybe 9.5 pounds, which normally they gain at least a couple pounds. You know, at that beginning, they're just gaining weight like crazy. And he was eating normally, and when I'd pump, I had plenty of milk. So the doctor was wondering if my milk just didn't have a whole lot of nutrition to it. So he had given me some preemie formula to just put a teaspoon, I think, in 3 ounces. He gave me this little formula that they use for preemies, this equation, not formula. He gave me formula and an equation. I don't know if I'm making any sense here. He told me the right amount to put in a certain amount of breast milk if I wanted to do it that way, or if I was mixing it with just water, he told me how to mix it with water because it's different than what it shows on the can as well. So I was doing that for a while, and we just do it once or twice a day. Since I was already pumping, I like to get my babies used to a bottle as well, especially since I know by 6 months I'm usually not able to nurse them anymore. I like them to be comfortable using a bottle, so I'll let my husband feed them, you know, a couple times a week or once a week or whatever. And so we were doing that process, and for a week it was like, okay, he's excited, like he's getting more food. He was maybe a little bit happier, but then he didn't want the bottle, he just wanted to nurse. And so I just nurse him, and we try to do a bottle when we could. So it was just kind of this back and forth, like just unsure of what's going on. And then I was like, is my baby gaining weight? Is he okay? And so after 2 weeks, we went back in for a weight check, and he had gained a lot of weight by that point. And he wasn't really eating that much formula. It was mostly just from nursing. So I don't know if my milk all of a sudden fattened up or what happened, but he started doing much better. And we'd still occasionally do formula a little bit, but for the most part, he was just nursing, or, you know, taking a bottle with just my milk in it, because then he became picky and he would not drink my milk if it was mixed with formula. He would only drink formula or my milk. I was like, child, you're driving me insane. And so it was really hard. And then nights were difficult as well, just like evening time. He was so hard to get to go to sleep. He would scream and scream and scream. And so I get him asleep, but you couldn't lay him down anywhere. He'd immediately wake up, and it was so hard. Occasionally I could get him like nestled just perfect on the couch where he felt like he was cuddled, and then I could be like hands-free for a few hours. And a couple times a week, my husband does jujitsu, and he's gone for 3 hours in the evening time. And so I just have this baby that was so upset, and I'm trying to get stuff done when my other kids have already gone to bed, and I just couldn't. I felt like I was just accomplishing nothing at all, and everything was just like backing up, and I was just frustrated. And so that's kind of what went on, and then it would seem to get better, and then he became very, very gassy. And again, it was like, is this my milk? What is wrong with me? Like, I just felt like I must be causing all these problems. Like, he's not gaining weight, and then he was gaining weight, you know, and so then he was fine there, and now he's super gassy. And so that woke him up all night long, all the time. And I was just like, ugh, I was going crazy. And so by 3 to 4 months with all my other kids, they're sleeping 10 to 12 hours. And I'm very routine oriented. I don't do a lot of like crying it out type sleep training unless it gets to a point where I have a baby that it's a little bit more necessary to do that. I know some people would be like, it's never necessary, but sometimes it is for your own sanity. Sometimes it is necessary. But with 3 of my 4 other kids, by 3 to 4 months, with me just establishing routines and bedtimes and everything, they naturally slept 10 to 12 hours. Okay, it was still hard work for me to establish those routines and get them to go to sleep by themselves, you know, teaching them how to self-soothe and all that stuff, but they would naturally sleep that way. My other one was harder, and this baby, Locke, reminds me a lot of my 3rd child, my 2nd boy, and they were both kind of difficult with feeding and all these different things, but Locke has definitely been harder. And so he wasn't sleeping 10 to 12 hours at 3 to 4 months. My 3rd child, it took a lot longer well, maybe by 6 to 9 months he was there. But with Locke, it was similar. It was just like he would sleep, and then he wouldn't sleep, and then he'd sleep. And I was just like, can we be consistent here? It was driving me crazy. Anybody who knows me personally knows that I just like routines. I liked things to be predictable. And he was not all the time. Like occasionally we'd get into a routine, and eventually he'd sleep in his swing. He wouldn't even sleep in his swing, like at all, just during the day. And eventually in the afternoons, if he was already asleep when I put him in the swing, I could usually get an hour or two's worth of work or housework or stuff with my kids done, and he would stay asleep. But he rarely would fall asleep in the swing. Like, he'd already have to be asleep and swaddled if I wanted him to stay asleep. And so just all these things, it was just super, super difficult. And so then at like 5 months, he had gotten a cold. He got several colds. You know, I have older kids, and it's just hard to avoid getting colds. But this one was a little bit worse because he also got a cough with it, but he actually slept pretty well. Like, he was only waking up at like 3 in the morning, and he'd go to bed at like 6:30-ish or whatever, and he was sleeping in his bed by himself. All these things, we had done so much work to get him to this point. And then after he got better, because we were gonna transition him to the laundry room. Our laundry room is huge, and it's right across the hall from our bedroom. So that's where we were gonna put him. And I bought a rug because it's just like linoleum floor, so it's really loud because it's on the 2nd floor, and so it just makes a lot of noise. So I was gonna put his pack and play in there, and that's where all of his clothes are anyways, is in that room. And so I was gonna move him over there, but then I was like, oh, I gotta wait till he's not sick, because I just wanna be able to hear him and everything if he needs something. So he had a really bad week right after he got better from being sick. And me and my husband were just like, you know, he's like over the gassiness, he's gained a lot of weight, he's over his cold, like all these things where we've made progress. You know, I take a step forward and a million steps back. That's what it felt like. And then finally one night we were going the next day with some friends to a lake, and he basically just wasn't sleeping, and I was exhausted. And so that day at the lake was hard too, because I was like delusional. But that night I was like, we're done. I'm done. This is what I mean by, like, for your own sanity, sometimes is what has to happen. So we put him in the laundry room. When I went to bed, I think my husband was rocking him to sleep because he had woken up or whatever at like 10 o'clock. And so my husband tried to get him to go back to sleep and finally put him in the bed just crying, but I was already asleep and I couldn't hear him because I have some white noise. It's quiet enough that if he's really loud, I can hear him, but if he's just kind of crying, then I can't. You know, it's like if he really needs me, I'll hear him, but otherwise it blocks out the noise so that I can sleep. And so that's kind of where, you know, where we were at that point. I was like, I just am gonna lose my mind. It was probably already lost. And so that night, like, was great. It was so great. He finally fell asleep. I guess, like, my husband said he was crying when my husband went to bed, but then in the morning I went and got him. And then we kept doing that, you know, and now he's totally fine. He sleeps from, it's been almost about a month, I guess. He sleeps from 6:30 at night and wakes up at 6 in the morning. And I'm fine with that because I get up early and I like to have evening time to get some other work done because my kids all go to bed at 7. And so anyways, it's been great. It's been so nice. You know, there was a few nights of him fussing a little bit, but most of the time if I just give him like a few seconds of just, he's not really screaming, you know, he's just crying a little bit, then he can find his binky now, or he'll just fall back asleep. And so it's been really nice. So this last month has been a huge improvement because for a while, every single month, every single day, I don't know if it was every single day, but it kind of felt like it. I was constantly like, oh, if I didn't have a baby, this is what I would be doing. Because if you don't know, like, he was a big surprise, like huge surprise. And so it was already like, well, I wasn't planning this. I didn't really want this. And now he's like my worst baby ever. And so I just, every day it's like, oh, if this hadn't happened, I could be doing this, or I could be doing this. And it was just really hard with all the emotions and him just being so difficult to push through that. And that's the reason I just didn't film this video. I just didn't have anything good to say. But then, you know, he's been a joy the last like month. Obviously it's still difficult. We still have things going on and I'm still trying to take care of a baby and all that kind of stuff, but he's become, you know, so much more aware. He can sit up by himself and he loves all the kids. He loves seeing their faces. I think the hard part now is he knows who I am. And so anytime I walk by him, he freaks out. You know, he wants me to pick him up and stuff. And so that part of it isn't always fun because I'm like, I have to get stuff done now too. And so my husband will usually like take him outside right before dinner and hang out outside so I can get dinner made and all that kind of stuff. So it's been hard, but it's been good at the same time, you know, and we love him to death and he's super cute. So I'm gonna go grab him and then I can tell you just a little bit more maybe about like his size and all that kind of stuff. Okay, here he is. He's still sort of eating his bottle. It's still hard to feed him. He gets very distracted. Doesn't want to eat. Huh, you say hi? He has his little hood on. We think it's so cute, huh? You gonna look out the window? So he is almost 7 months old now, which is pretty crazy, huh? That you're almost 7 months old. You can see yourself. And he is humongous. And so I feel like each of my kids has progressively gotten longer. And so they're all born, you know, between 8.5 and 9.5 pounds, and then they just stretch. So my last child, my fourth child, she was super long, very, very skinny, but just super long. And all my kids are still super tall, super skinny. And so he is very tall. I just had to buy 12-month pajamas for him. Like I said, he's, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, you gotta spit up, clean up all over my pants. Thank you so much. And so he, like I said, he's almost 7 months old, but in 12-month pajamas because he was in 6 to 9 and pushing out of those. And then they don't have 9 to 12, like it's harder to find 9 to 12, it's just like 12 months. So we bought 12 month and they have the little like grippy footies on them because, you know, kids start walking around that age or a little bit before. And I'm just like, oh, this is funny. You know, he's wearing these really big pajamas, but they're not big on him because you're so big. And so he just had a 6-month checkup about 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago. And he's in the 92nd percentile for length and then the 66th for weight, which when he was 2 months old, he was in the 2nd for weight and still really high for length. But it was like the doctor had put failure to thrive at 2 months on his chart, and just a few weeks ago he's like, we can take that off. He's definitely not failure to thrive. Nope. And so he has chunked up a little bit and still just extremely long. When we go to church, there's a few other babies that are around his same age, and he looks like a giant compared to them. Are you a giant compared to those babies? But we love him to death. He loves being outside. So we've been sitting him outside with the kids for like breakfast. They'll sit outside while I do my workout, and he'll just sit on the grass and loves being out there, loves being outside. What else? He wants everything. You know, he can't yet move, but I have a feeling he probably will soon. And once he does, heaven help us all, because he's gonna be into everything. You're so excited for all the things. What else? I don't know. That's basically him. And we're doing pretty good, We're doing pretty good over here. There you are. Are you so tall? Just likes to look around and see everything, and likes to make lots and lots of noises. And he is eating some solid foods. You know, the doctor, when he was 4 months old, said he could start eating just what we were eating, basically. You know, obviously not giving him something super hard or big or whatever. But, you know, if we're having a little dinner and it's something that he could feasibly eat, just to feed it to him. So he has had some, like, he likes applesauce. For a while he just only liked really smooth textured things. But now he's starting, like, I tried normal oatmeal at first and he did not like that, but now he'll eat it. Are you being loud? And he likes rice. He'll eat some rice, and he loves bananas, you know, so we are doing a whole bunch of different things that way, just little bits here and there. And my kids are very excited to feed him all the things, or to give him all the toys, like their toys. And so we just are having to teach them, because with them, with all my other kids, we didn't have any small toys. We didn't have to really baby proof, because we just didn't buy a lot of stuff that wasn't baby proof, because they were all so little at the same time. But now we have lots of stuff that's not. And so we have to constantly be reminding them that once he can move and grab stuff a lot, you cannot put this kind of stuff by his face. So we're practicing not doing it now, so that when he is everywhere, that they'll know not to let him get all the little stuff. Should we go put you back with your sister and I can finish the video? Do you want to go sit back with Lydia? Maybe finish your bottle? We'll see. You're so excited. I'll be right back. He's gonna go out with his sister. Okay, I'm back again. In and out, here we go. And so the last thing I wanted to add onto this video was just this health update that kind of popped up in the last few weeks, and has been affecting a little bit of my filming life, my YouTube life, and then also just my home life, obviously. But a couple months ago, we got back from Jamaica, and my ears felt plugged. And I had lots of problems with my eustachian tubes when I was younger and stuff, so I just was like, okay, they're just plugged. But I could never get them to clear, and I was just having a really hard time getting them to clear. And I felt like for like that first month, I felt like I had taken a whole bunch of nighttime medicine and my brain was just all disconnected. You know, just that, or you have a cold and your head's kind of just like disconnected. That's what it felt like, but I didn't have a cold or anything. I just felt sort of out of it, a little bit dizzy and all these things. So after about a month, I went into my normal doctor. Sorry, I'm like out of breath for just walking across the house. Anyway, and so I went to my normal doctor, and he checked some things, and he's like, oh, maybe your eustachian tubes aren't clearing, because I plugged my nose and tried to clear them, and they weren't really clearing very well. And so he was like, let's take some Sudafed and some allergy medicine and just see if that will help clear things up. And so he said, let's do that for 2 weeks. If that doesn't work, we can send you to an ENT. And so then it felt like this ear cleared up and was doing pretty well, but then this one not so much, and I felt very lopsided, right? Because now I was like unbalanced. I was like, what is going on? And I'd have some more severe dizzy spells. Once, I think it was a Saturday, Monday, I don't remember for sure, but I came back from like a walk in the morning, and at the very end of the walk, I was so dizzy just so sick and not feeling very good. And so for like an hour or two, I just did not feel great and didn't want to do anything. And then like a week and a half later, that happened again, more severe. And I was like out the whole day, basically. Like half the day I spent on the couch. That was a Saturday. And then I was sort of up and about, but still not feeling great. And so on Monday, I called my doctor and they're like, oh yeah, we'll just send the referral over. So I called the ENT on Tuesday after I knew they had gotten the referral, and they were like, oh, we had someone cancel for today. Can you come in today? And I was like, yes, because it was gonna be like a week and a half otherwise. And so my husband took our kids all to swim lessons by himself, and I was gonna meet them there. So I went into the ENT. You know, they asked me all my symptoms, like, yeah, my ears feel plugged, a little dizzy, all this, you know, sometimes having really bad dizzy spells that make me super nauseous, very like bad vertigo. And so he had the audiologist test like my eustachian tubes, and everything was functioning normally with that. So then they did a hearing test, which was funny because, so my third child, the one that was also a difficult baby, had some, what are they called, tonsil and adenoid problems. He had some ear problems. So I took him to an ENT. So I kind of felt like it was like deja vu, but that was when he was like 2. So it had been a while since I had been in that kind of situation. And obviously the hearing test is different when it's a 2-year-old because you can't just trust them to like push the button while they're listening for sounds in their ears. So that's what he did. He just had me do this hearing test, and you know, had me push a button when I'd hear a noise. He did this year, and then he did some without the earplug in, and did, I don't know all the technical terms, I probably will eventually know, but back here with some sound as well, and put some like white noise behind it, all these different things. He would just speak into it and have me repeat words, and he'd talk loud and quiet, and then he just had me say a whole bunch of words at the same, like he was at the same volume. So I don't know if that was listening for like slurs or something, that maybe someone that was deaf. I'm not an expert at this in any way. Sounds that I would miss, right, if I couldn't hear them. And so he did all that. And then after that, he told me it looks like you may have Meniere's disease. And I think that's how you say it. But I can like put it on the screen if you want to look it up. And so he's like, this, all your symptoms kind of point to that. But it also, after that, I met with the ENT again, and he was like, yes, that's what it looks like. But it's also this disease of patterns. Your hearing will come and go. And so until we can look over time and see if this pattern continues, it's hard to say this is for sure what it is, but this is what it looks like. And so they're like, we can give you steroids right now, which I was almost done nursing. Like I was only really nursing in the morning. And so I was like, okay, we'll just be done nursing, because I didn't want to take steroids and be nursing baby. And so I would just pump and throw it away. But so he's like, the steroids will help knock out the worst of the symptoms. And then most people maintain it through diet, through a very low sodium diet. So 1,500 milligrams, he's like, are the hardcore people, to like, from research, 2,000 to 2,300 milligrams is about, you know, somewhere below that. And I already eat pretty healthy. And so, but then once you start looking at the sodium content in everything, like there's so much sodium in a lot of things that you just don't even think about. Even the little bit of salsa I sometimes put on my eggs, there's like almost 300 milligrams in 2 tablespoons of it. You know, so just things like that. A lot of sauces obviously have a lot. And basically like eating out, it has to be it was already sort of a luxury for us because there's just so many of us and it's expensive, but it become a big luxury, you know, for me, because going anywhere to eat out, your sodium, I've already like hit that just from one meal if I haven't gone over it, you know, already. So anyway, hearing this diagnosis, it was like, okay, this is what's going on. And so I didn't explain very well about the sound. So my hearing in both ears, high frequency is the same, but low frequency in this ear starts to dip just below normal. It's not like I'm deaf, but it just starts to dip a little bit. And so anyway, sorry, my baby is crying. His sister is not doing a very good job taking care of him. Let me go check on him. I'll be right back, yet again. Okay, hopefully he'll make it through the rest of this video. He's just kind of sitting out with his sister, but also mad at her. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, so yes, the hearing doesn't dip super low in this year, but a little bit. And so I go back in a few weeks for another hearing test to see if it's bumped back up. But I have the pulsing in my ear now, so I feel like the steroids took care of a lot of the vertigo. It was still a rough week, but I did start to feel better. And then I did have like another episode or attack where I did not feel good. It was the last day I was taking steroids. But then since then, and since really trying to focus on lower sodium, I have been doing better. My ear still pulses, which was really hard with my kids because I could focus, like if one person was talking to me, it was very easy to hear them, but then everyone would start talking. And I imagine it how my grandpa used to feel with his hearing aid, where he'd turn them off because it was too much. When everyone was making noise at the same time, you can't filter through it. It's hard normally to filter through that much noise, but then with this, it was very hard for me. And so it would just seem so loud and just pulsing in my ear. It just always feels like you hear a car that has a really strong bass drive by, you know, and it's like bumping. And then it gets further away and it's very faint. And that's how that faint bumping is always going on in my ear. And so that hopefully will eventually go away, but again, it just will come and go. So I don't know what the protocol will be after this next hearing test, you know, if it'll be like 6 months or just every year. And then if I have issues to come in sooner, I'm not really sure. If you guys are familiar with this disease, if you have it or know somebody that does, let me know down in the comments, maybe like any expertise you have, any things that you've seen that have worked. Because again, I am just in the beginning of my understanding or research of it. And when I first heard about it, I was like, okay, this is what's going on. It's nice to know we can move forward. But at the same time, with everything else that's been going on in my life in the last year and a half, I was like, great, just one more thing. And this wasn't most likely something that will go away. It's something that I'll probably just deal with the rest of my life. And so anyway, that's a lot. This video is a lot. And there's a lot of stuff going on, but it's been fun. It's been a ride for sure. We're making it through. My husband's been a great support, you know, especially he's around a lot. He's a professor, and so he has a very flexible schedule, and I'm very grateful for that, because with the baby being so hard, and now with sometimes me just not being able to function, which I don't like that feeling. I'm one that I like to be up and getting stuff done. He's there, he's able to help, and he's really good at like managing all the other things when I just can't function completely. So I'm very grateful for that. But that's kind of a life update, baby life update, health update, all the things. And so once I know more, I'll probably update you again. I don't know if I'll do its own video or maybe like in a day in the life or something, I'll update it. But yeah, that's just how life is going right now. So if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy just like getting updates, that kind of a video, let me know and I can maybe do them a little bit more frequently, because I don't really do them at all right now. And I will see you next time, I guess.